Okay, we're not testing anymore. We're actually getting right into it now.
Oh.
Oh, alright. Hola! So, Carlos.
And Dave.
This is Two Fat Guys Talk, episode 65. We are a refined podcast. The title of this episode is Odd Digivolutions Involving Hair Where There Wasn't Hair Before. Sound off. Carlos. Hello. Dave.
Yo.
Poe. Kiki.
Yo.
And the little sweet puppy lady, who is gonna remain silent.
Because I have no vocal cords.
Indeed, indeed. So this is an episode with friends, but before we get to it, let us have a moment of silence and reflection. Leonard Nimoy passed away a couple days ago. He played Spock. He was an icon of nerd culture, all-around cool guy, had several spots on The Simpsons, which were always hilarious. So shout-outs to you, Mr. Nimoy. You entertained us. Live long and prosper, and all the usual lines that are said when Leonard Nimoy passes away.
I saw on 4chan on the CO board, there was a thread called Bad Leonard Nimoy Death Fan Art.
Oh my god.
Why are you on 4chan?
I just like browsing the CO board because it, even though it ended like last Friday, like every Friday they always do this thing called From the Good Times thread featuring Street Fighter, Captain N, and Mega Man American cartoons.
You know you're part of the problem just being part of 4chan.
I don't go to the bad parts.
Doesn't matter.
To be fair, there are parts of that board that are worse than others. And there are worse boards, like 8chan and other places that actively terrorize people. So, that's not to say I care. I don't care for any Chan board, but there are worse places. So there was bad Leonard Nimoy fan art. Maybe we won't be showing any during this podcast.
Let's not.
Yes, Leonard Nimoy, good times. Thank you for the memories.
Well, looks like my job here is done. What do you mean your job here is done? You didn't do anything. Didn't I?
Well, yes.
Yep.
Classic moment. And Leonard Nimoy's like, oh, let me go get something in my car. He runs off.
I don't think he's coming back.
I still love his one scene in the most recent Star Trek movie. It's like, I have promised not to tell you anything about the future.
But
enough about that.
Here's some shit about the future.
I'm sorry for no one, I guess anyone who's listening. When I was asking, am I doing it right? I was trying to do the Vulcan peace sign.
Which
I was just making sure. But no one can see me, so I'm like, right.
Which the current new Spock can't do without glue.
Why?
Really?
They have to glue his fingers together to
Zach
get him to
Quinto can't do it?
Nope.
Zach Quinto, what are you up to? We should get him on the show and explain why.
Zach Quinto, you full of shit?
Wouldn't it be weird if we got a call from Zach Quinto's people? Be like, hey, I heard you guys want me on your show, so what's your audience reach?
Yeah.
Tens of people!
Yeah.
Alright, let's get the preamble and opening banter, which we've probably been doing for a while now. So...
Can you do it with both hands?
You can! I don't think there's a double Vulcan peace sign. I don't think it means anything.
It would be so funny if a double Vulcan peace sign was actually an offensive term.
Yeah,
to the
like,
Klingons.
do it with one hand. Oh yeah, doing it with two hands to the Klingons, they will kill a fool for that. They'll be like, blah blah! Which means, fuck your face, or some shit in Klingon. What else would be offensive signs to various alien races in Star Trek, do you think?
Well, to Klingons just breathing.
Well, Klingons are pretty pissed off all the time. What about Tholians? They make their webs around ships, the slowest possible way to trap a ship ever that only works if a ship just sits there and lets them do it for 5 hours or however long it takes to set up a Tholian fucking web. They're doing something. Should we move? No, let's sit here and let them spin a web around us for 5 hours.
Let's see how this plays out.
But I'm pretty sure Tholians get pissed off pretty easily. Maybe just mentioning how slow their fucking useless webs are is what pisses them off.
It makes them spin their faster webs. That goes around your neck and just goes...
Maybe Tholians have personal web spinners. Why are we talking about the fucking Tholians? They blow.
I don't know
You
who
brought
the
it
Tholians
up.
are.
They're the worst Star Trek race. The worst.
Even more than the Borg?
The Borg are pretty... The Borg do suck. I mean, they're supposed to be this unstoppable wall of horrible, inevitable machine taking overness, and one Federation ship that just varies up their lasers destroys Borg cubes. It's like, fuck the Borg. Fucking worst. Yeah. So, Preamble opening banter. Bunch of aliens. Let's get to our mailbag and corrections.
Yay!
We have 8 voicemails today. 5 from Meowth, 3 from Rowan, 0 from anyone else. Let's jump right in.
Wait, before we do, are there any corrections you need to make?
We almost never need to make corrections because we're awesome. But no corrections, let's get to the mail.
Hello, this is Meowth 900 again. Well, SAO2, that's barely after it finished. That show is still gonna be around annoying me. And it's gonna be on TV. It's gonna be on Adult Swim. Well, at least we got Kill la Kill and Inuyasha, so it sort of cushions the blow, but it's gonna be annoying having SAO2 and Naruto shipping in the same hour. Maybe I'll just watch something else while those two are playing. Anyway, Dave, how bad was SAO2? You can even have spoilers in there because it's Sword Art Online, not anything good.
So I'm assuming everyone's okay with Dave spoiling the shit out of Sword Art Online 2.
With Sword Art Online 2, they moved to a new MMO called Gun Gale Online. So instead of swords, you got guns, and do you suppose it would have been a little cooler if the premise was like everyone sees it like if it was like a Doom first-person screen. Just everyone just moving super fast, shotgunning NPC.
Oh,
wow!
Could you imagine a whole show like that? Just
no.
Will Pinky admit his feelings to Arachnotron today?
Arachnotron Senpai.
So
Arachnotron Senpai, yes, of course.
So here's the thing.
It's blushing. It's got the locks.
Season 2 had a good starting premise. The government guy who had worked with Kirito, or Kazuto rather, they asked him to go into a new MMO, because a couple people had actually died.
Why do these MMOs stay in business?
Well, that's just it. They asked him to go in because they couldn't actually figure out how the person had died. It wasn't from, brain microwave. The person was actually killed via a non-microwave. It shouldn't have been able to happen via the new headsets.
So this is why.
So they ask him to go in, and he does. Still goes. He ends up going with a handgun / sword combo.
Always a good combo. Nobody's complaining about that part.
But here's the thing: they have him with a little bit of post-traumatic stress disorder.
Oh my god, they actually have him suffering PTSD?
Yes.
They have an anime character suffering PTSD?
Yes.
I would imagine that what would happen if someone was locked in an MMO for a year or so.
Yeah,
but
with
the government keeping those comatose people alive without zero
here's the problem.
I'm glad to hear finally an anime hero is getting recognized as having PTSD.
Here's the thing, though. It happening in Season 2 is half a season too late. Everything kind of goes along with him doing a whole bunch of flashbacks to basically the war they were having in SAO against player killers. How they basically all came together to wipe out the player killer guild.
That's so funny that in an MMO you're trapped in, where if you die in the MMO, you die in real life. There are still trolley player killers.
Yeah. And while that is a good premise, and they even hinted towards a whole bunch of that in the first half of Season 1, kind of hits all of a sudden in Season 2, and I only made it halfway through Season 2 before I'm like, okay, I'm not having any fun at all with this. It's dragging, and they're not resolving anything anytime quick, so I'm done. kind of thing. So, Meowth, you might want to watch it to sort of get an idea whether you're going to like it or not. I don't think you will, but I'm going to pick it back up now. It's in English to see if I can get a different look at it kind of thing. I wasn't having fun with the Japanese version, not because it was in Japanese, but just because they needed to move on.
All these MMOs with no regulation whatsoever. It's bizarre to me.
And, I mean, they even have it where it's obvious that one of the player killers that they had captured in SAO was in this new MMO, and seeing as we're talking spoilers, it was kind of ingenious, because him and a friend, basically, they found out the real name of the person that they wanted to get rid of, and while the guy was killed in the game, his bud was nailing them with poison.
Huh.
That's how they were.
That is the last thing I expected you to say.
Me too. I was actually wondering, like, if one of the guy was
kick him in the cock.
Yeah, no, like... it was all poison, and that even sets up a plot line for eventual season 3.
Oh, that's not what I was hoping for. Like, the guy was getting killed in the game, and he's like, oh, this cannot get any worse. Sniper round to the head from a rooftop somewhere.
But that would be, at that point, you wouldn't even be looking at a possible MMO causing the death. You'd be like,
I know,
he was shot in the head with a real bullet.
They could be using the MMO as a cover.
No.
You know, SAO turned into Law and Order SVU so fast.
So, I don't know what the second half of the season is, because I know they move on from that really quick. But, yeah, I'll get there eventually.
Okay, excellent. I would love to start the second voicemail, but there's a puppy sitting on my shoulder, and if I move, she's gonna fall.
Do it.
Okay.
So recently I started searching for a copy of Pikmin 3 in the stores. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any because for some reason they're out of print. And for other reasons, like all the Mario games are still being sold. I don't know why, Nintendo, you're not printing out more Pikmin 3 copies. And you got Wonderful 101 for, like, less than a normal Wii game cost. So yeah, this is really strange. I was wondering if you guys ever had a moment where you're trying to find a video game physically, whether it be for a Nintendo system or a Sony system or a Microsoft system or for PC. And if you ever had like moments where you just like, fuck, I can't find anything. I can't find a physical copy of this game I want. And I don't know if this was before digital downloads, but if this was before digital download time, I would be very disappointed.
Well, here's the thing. We're in the digital download era, and you still can't get copies of games.
I know, it's... I distinctly remember, like, Xenoblade is the obvious culprit here.
Yeah.
Trying to find a copy at a reasonable price for the Wii is the most impossible fucking thing in the fucking world. I remember trying to track down copies of games all the way back to the Nintendo. I remember not being able to find a copy of Mario 3 to save my life, to rent or to buy when I finally wanted to buy it. Or finally have my parents buy it for me at the time, as it were. Kiki, earlier when we were in the car, you were talking about finding a game.
I can't recall the game for the life of me, but it's quite frustrating when you're looking place after place after place. And if someone actually does have it, it's like used for $1 billion. It's like, why?
Please pardon these puppy interruptions.
It's okay.
What are you doing?
She doesn't know whether to get up or go. Or she wants to go, but she's
like,
picks up, he's an obstacle.
I should go take a look what it is. Could be emergent, but then it's like, oh, Dave's here. No, must look.
So,
well, Bravely Default. At first, people couldn't find copies of Xenoblade as well.
The Smash Brothers GameCube adapter.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, yeah, there's another one.
Okay, but are we talking something that's made a limited run of, like half of what Nintendo does?
Maybe Nintendo should stop doing that.
Because Nintendo said right out, look, our first run was of a certain amount. Yes, we know people are scalping the hell out of them, but a second run is going to be done. someday.
This is why I like buying everything digital. You don't have that concern.
PlayStation 2 Shin Megami Tensei games. Those are near impossible to find.
I would imagine they are.
And if you do find them, they're ridiculously expensive.
When I finally bought one of the new PlayStation 2s and Persona 4, I had no trouble finding that at all.
Well, that was because it came out at the time.
This is true. It was a rather late PlayStation 2 game. But yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating looking everywhere for a game, especially before the digital download era, where no place on fucking Earth has Final Fantasy 3 anywhere. So, it's a thing.
Right.
3-3 or 6-3?
6-3.
Right now, anybody trying to find Guitar Hero and Rock Band.
That's right.
Stuff.
That's what I was trying to look for. I looked online to try to find the drum set and stuff like that.
Need one?
Well,
PS3?
I don't know why. You have one?
I've got 2 right now.
Why do you have 2?
Because I...
This is why it's so hard to find. You're hogging them in your
hogging
house.
all 4
No,
of them.
it's called... I would hit Kijiji, and somebody's selling a whole bunch of the stuff for a cheap price. I would just go and get them. So, yeah, I've got 2 sets.
Well, on the plus side, you're better than that dick who's buying up all the Rosalina amiibos because he hates Rosalina.
We'll get
There is seriously a guy doing that?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's
He's pre-ordering
he's bought thousands of amiibos just because he hates the character.
Where does he live, and can I punch him in the neck?
So now other people can't buy, for example, Rosalina because he has them.
And he refuses to sell them.
That's fucking disgusting. That should be a jailable offense.
But how?
I don't care how. Next voicemail.
Okay, last one. So I was looking at the eShop and I played a video game called The Citizens of Earth. It's a demo, so I didn't really have to pay anything. And I was wondering, like, what other old games would you like to see on the Virtual Console? And I know Earthbound is on there for Wii U, but I would really like to see the old Pokemon games. Like Red, Blue, Yellow, or Gold and Silver, or Ruby and Sapphire, Emerald. That would be fun to play on the Wii U. I mean, I don't know, everybody loves Pokemon. And I also saw like an old Fire Emblem game was on there too. And I was thinking maybe more Fire Emblem, but Nintendo of America hates us and doesn't localize any more than a couple of Fire Emblem games. So it would just be like Fire Emblem 7 and that Sacred Stones game. And maybe some of the GameCube games. But that's it for the most part. Yeah, so what games would you like to see that are old and on the Virtual Console so you can buy them without paying $100 on eBay to get a physical copy that's super old and might be broken?
All of them! There is no excuse Nintendo has to not have every goddamn non-movie licensed first-party Nintendo game on the Virtual Console. None. Except that they're trying to screw us for money. They should all be there.
As well as every Wii game, every Super NES game, every N64 game.
As long as there's no music or movie licenses to worry about, and Nintendo still wholly owns something, there is no excuse why it shouldn't be on the fucking console. Third parties are different, Nintendo isn't, they have no excuse.
Here's my best example for this, Meowth, is I wanted to turn in a whole bunch of my Club Nintendo points, and they have Mario World on there, they have Super Mario 3, etc. Well, I don't want Mario World, Mario 3, Mario 2, Mario 1. I want Mario All-Stars. And the only place you can get that on the Wii was the Nintendo 25th Anniversary Edition, which is not available digitally.
And it was just the Super Nintendo version of the game?
No, the Mario All-Stars they had in the 25th Anniversary Edition was the proper Mario All-Stars with all the games remastered.
And
yeah,
Mario World.
the one on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that one also had Mario World as well.
Yeah, and here's my problem with that. I don't even want those. They're gonna re-release Mario All-Stars on the Wii for full price. I want the extra features the Game Boy Advance version games had. I want the extra advance coins and voices. I want the extra bosses they added to Mario 2. I want the different playable Luigi they added to Mario World and Mario 3. I want the extra Yoshi's Island levels. I want Yoshi's Island in there. I want all the Super Mario 3 eWorld levels that you have to buy cards for to scan, half of which we didn't get in North America. That is almost worth full retail price to me, and I still argue it's not quite, but I would buy it for that price.
I agree, like, with the both of you that at this point where it's super hard to get the original copies, why isn't there an electronic
version?
copy? Yeah. Like, and especially if people are willing to pay for it, why is it not available?
Chris Weston asked me, he's the guy I do the flashcasts with now and then, why the hell is it illegal to get a bootleg copy of something that the creators aren't making available anymore? It's a good question. There's no good answer to it. It shouldn't be.
On to the next.
That's our answer, Meowth. All of them. Everything Nintendo can shove in there. And you lied. This was not your last voicemail, so let's go to your next one.
Well, it was your last one of that day.
Of that day, yes. 2 days later, we have more.
Hello, Carlos. Hello, Dave. I'm sure you probably noticed, but there's a Donkey Kong deal going on in the eShop. I wanted to try doing it, but I guess the Donkey Kong Country games are like $8 or something on the eShop, and that's not including sales tax. So I didn't really want to bother doing it. Even though I'd get 30% off on Donkey Kong Country Returns, I don't really feel like I should spend $8 on a game that's super old. And I was wondering, since you guys really rag on Nintendo for having those silly prices for those old games such as Donkey Kong Country, what prices do you think should be the cost of really old SNES or NES games on the eShop? Because, like you said, it's basically just Nintendo's emulator.
Kiki, you had an answer here.
$1. Like, really, because people can get them for free as emulators. Like,
it shouldn't be $8 or $10 for an import, which has no English language in it.
Yeah, here's the thing, is we are dealing with them just running it off of an emulator. I don't think necessarily saying that because you can get it for an emulator that it should be really cheap. Like, there are some games that might be worth a couple bucks, but me and Carlos have discussed before, I think it should just be like a $5 a month subscription for access to the entire Nintendo library, maybe up to GameCube.
I would like a subscription for a monthly cost. If they're going to charge me individually, I like the $99 price point because...
You mean the 99
cent price
Wow.
point?
Holy crap, dude.
Because if Kemco can release a brand new RPG on mobile every month and can make flash sales where they all go on sale for 99 cents each, and these are all new games, I can't speak to their quality because I haven't played any of them, but they are new-ass games, not just old games remastered. Why the hell can't Nintendo do it? Nintendo doesn't need to charge the ridiculously bloated prices they need to for games that have already been made, that they are slapping into an emulator they've already perfected, and putting out on a platform they know will run it with no trouble. It's just, unless they had to go back and do work on a game because of licensing or copyright or whatever, then they can justify to me a higher price point than 99 shitty cents. But yeah, I'd rather have the subscription.
Yeah.
All right. And on to Meowth's final voicemail.
Hello, Carlos. Hello, Dave. So recently I tried to get Pikmin 3. I played the demo of Pikmin 3, and I like the game and how the game plays. But at the same time, I tried to look online because I want to buy a disc. But for some reason, they don't sell the discs of Pikmin 3 anymore. So now I have to resort to going on the eShop and downloading it. So I'm going to need like $60 worth of eShop credit. Because first-party games are expensive now. And my internet's okay, but when it comes to downloading stuff, it's really slow. So that's really disappointing. And that's like the only problem I have with digital downloads, if it's like for new games. Because HD equals super slow download time equals me getting bored and not wanting to play the game after it downloads. So I was wondering, do you guys prefer getting a disc or getting the digital downloads? For me, it's just discs are somehow more convenient because even though you'll just be going down to the store and dealing with people and buying a disc, when you get home, you can just put in the disc and you can start playing the game as opposed to a digital download where it can take me an hour to download a game and then deal with updates for the game. So what's your thoughts, digital or physical?
I like digital because I have a good internet connection and I don't want to lend Dave any games.
That's mean.
Yeah, you do like being a dick. No, we've had this conversation before. I mean, I'm like, hey, Carlos, I want to borrow this game. I bought it digitally. You fucker.
Carlos.
He asked me about Bayonetta, and I offered it because I still have it physically.
Yes, the one game. I'm like, so what Mario games do you have?
New Super Mario Brothers Wii U and the Luigi DLC.
Yeah, the one that comes with the console.
Yeah, hard copy. You're right.
Yeah, you've got 2 games.
I do the sensible thing. I leverage technology, and I get the digital copy. However, internet is a valid concern in certain parts of the world, even in the first world, where for some reason our dumbasses haven't laced fiber all over the planet and are using shithole copper to transfer internet.
Myself, Meowth, I like going with physical releases over digital for most of my console titles. For PC, yeah, my Steam library is over 300 now. Sure. But for console, unless it's a arcade game sort of thing, I definitely go with physical over digital. It's just better. However, a lot of games these days, you take it home, buy it brand new, and you still have to update it. It won't run without an update.
I was just about to bring that up.
What about the people in the room? Maybe I'll ask that after you're done. Go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, it depends on the game. Because, for example, I was trying to get Project Diva, whatever it's called, Project Diva F or whatever it was. And,
1 or 2.
I think it was the first one.
The one with Miku in it.
Carlos, anyway, and, so I ordered it on Amazon, and I was telling my friends, I was like, yeah, I ordered it so I could get it earlier, because it was going to take longer to come to Canada, and it still came after theirs.
Yep.
So...
But I couldn't find Project F in any of our stores. No. They all brought in the absolute minimum copies they had for pre-sale, and then after that, they weren't bringing any more in.
Yeah, so
I was like, okay, Amazon. Also, about your Pikmin 3 there, Meowth, just because I tend to be egotistical and try and offer help that isn't really needed, I checked Amazon. I'm guessing you already had as well, and... I see why you have to buy it digitally, because the physical copies are going for $85.
That is absurd for Pikmin.
Yeah, Pikmin.
I wouldn't pay $8 for a Pikmin game, let alone $80.
Not my style of game.
Wow.
I was gonna ask... sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, for example, for that Miku game.
Yeah.
In that aspect, I'd rather get the digital copy, because at least I get the game right away. Instead of waiting forever and a half, that might not even come.
Yeah.
And even then, you still might have to contend with updates, depending on the game and how picky it is to be updated right away.
Yeah.
How stupid is it, on that same topic, that when you buy a digital game and you download it, it still has to do an update the first time you run it? It's like, yeah, you download it to the hard drive, but oh, wait, there's an update. Stop.
There is some time between when a game goes gold and the release date that perhaps a bug fix or two was found. So
I'm talking like a year or two after the game's come out. I go and I buy it digitally. It downloads the main game file, and that main game file still doesn't have the updates. It's like, oh, hang on, you're on PS3, so we're going to update it.
That still
11 updates.
That still happens on Steam sometimes, for fuck's sake. Like, electronic versions are better. All right. So, let's move on to the last 3 voicemails. All of them are from Rowan. Let's hear Rowan speak in his delightful accent.
Hi Carlos, hi Dave. I've finally gotten around to sending you another beautiful, exciting, extravagant, and hopefully interesting voicemail. So, let's go. If you could change a single mechanical gaming convention, as in a standard adopted amongst many, many games, such as very obvious ones like X to confirm, circle to cancel, HP always being listed before MP, or even something as seemingly obvious like the left side of the controller is for movement. What would you change? Keeping in mind this change doesn't remove the other ways of doing that thing, it's merely changing what the norm within gaming would be. And we're looking at mechanical stuff, so let's not worry about going into something like making more protagonists female, because that's not part of this discussion. So yes. Also, why haven't you watched more Utena? That is another important pressing question. Okay then, I've got more to say though, so more voicemails coming.
Sorry that we haven't watched more Utena.
It's Dave's fault. I mentioned I might want to watch it subbed from the beginning because I wasn't liking the dub too much. And Dave has responded to this by just always avoiding the question whenever I bring up Utena. Like, hey, you want to watch some more Utena? Dave's like, do you smell gas? And then he tries to burn me.
Dude, there'd be no try in that. Here's the thing, Rowan. We're gonna get back to it. We have just finished getting back to Gurren Login and finishing it off. So
we did finish it off now.
Yeah,
but
it's now finished. We'll have reviews out here soon for it.
Plus, we're watching Yuri Kuma Arashi, which is by the Utena guy.
Yeah.
Whose name I completely forget every time. I call him the Utena guy.
So we are going to get back to it. It's just we're trying to get rid of a little bit of our backlog of stuff that we really need to finish before going back to stuff that we still need to get back to.
We're going to have the end of the fall 2014 lineup in fall 2015. We're finally going to choose a winner.
I blame Carlos for that.
Yeah, I blame your face. What the hell did he ask before?
The mechanic.
Right.
Things, which ones would you change, like in the menu and stuff?
Yeah, run buttons. I don't like run buttons unless they're like Gears of War where there's a point to run and a point to not. In every single Mario game, I would just make run the default.
Like Yoshi in Yoshi's Island 2.
In Yoshi's Island 1. Oh. Well, in Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, yes. Because in the Yoshi's...
That's a good one, actually.
In Yoshi's Island DS, when he's carrying Mario grants you the feature to hold the button to run faster. So I'm like, oh wow, this game has terrible level design, and I have to hurt my thumb to play it.
And it has shit music, too.
It has the worst music.
Which one?
Every Yoshi's Island game except the first one.
Well, actually, this one's easy for me. Experience bars.
You want experience bars gone, or just experience?
I would wipe out experience bars. I want game creators to make their game so that if you're gonna have a character, quote unquote, level up, have it based on events. Not an arbitrary bar that I can just grind out and out-level an area. You want to build an experience where this boss is hard? Fine, but build it around a character you're guaranteed to have.
In Grand Stream Saga, you don't gain levels from fighting monsters. You reach various points of the story and you gain a level.
You know
that would be more what I would want in a lot of games. I mean, I love grinding out levels in games like Fallout and stuff like that. But it makes a little bit more of a balance. Like, you can't out-level the upcoming challenge. You're going to be at that level, and the game developer knows you're going to have access to these skills. Maybe you have some items that you were able to buy more of, but still, you know the experience the person's going to have based on A, B, and C without throwing it open.
I can't argue that. You were saying, Kiki?
I was just going to agree with David. That's such a nice idea, so you don't have to sit there and be like, actually, I'm having that problem with Shining Force 2 right now.
Uh-huh.
Where it's much harder than the first one.
Yes.
And I'm just sitting there. I'm having to do a map over and over again just so my characters are at an appropriate level. And it sucks.
And that you don't feel like you're being anally raped by every enemy.
Yeah.
And I have a question for you on that game, though.
Okay. I don't know how far. I don't know if I'm halfway through or anything like that.
Doesn't matter, actually. Are you changing your characters to their upgraded forms as early as you can? Or are you waiting?
Early. And a lot of I was looking at guides, they say if you want to do it early, these are the characters you should do it with. If you want to grind them out later, then these are the levels and characters, stuff like that. And
I only ask because I remember the main character's childhood friend, the one girl who likes him.
Sarah.
I didn't upgrade her until late in the game because I wanted to make her a healer rather than a monk. I think she is.
I have her as a monk.
I made her into a healer, but you had to wait like over half the game to get her to that.
See,
but
that's
she was
why
an ass-kicking healer.
But see, my problem with the game right now, I'm finding, is that if I didn't upgrade them, they were gaining experience like booty. But now that they're upgraded to their secondary level for the most of the characters, I've noticed a pattern. Like, depending on how many enemies they kill and depending on what level they are, for example, if they just hit level 7, if I kill something, if I get at least about 40 experience, that means I'm still under-leveled. If I gain about 17 or 16 experience, it means I'm about right. If I gain about 1 or 3,
you're overpowered.
I'm overpowered. And I'm just like, that's my only gauge.
This is why I have Ramza scream at himself. He always gains a consistent amount of experience.
And that's just it.
That's a healer.
You can do that.
You can do that with the healers.
If your healer can't heal somebody, as in purposely,
you heal yourself.
You heal anybody around you because the person you heal also gains a couple of experience.
That's right.
And that is why I want
that to be gone.
Because especially for games like that, it's like, oh, well, I got here and I'm under-leveled. I didn't grind out the last battle 15 times.
Yeah.
Hey, great.
So,
especially in the day of now having achievements and trophies.
And it's really irritating when you're just like, I just want to play the game.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit and do the same map 8 times.
In all my RPG design docs, most bosses and some regular enemies level up with you. And the way I see it, you gain the benefit of grinding out a bar, and the bosses are going to kick your ass like I want them to.
Now, funny enough, I've just gone through this whole thing where I want experience bars to be gone, but I like RPGs where if I want to grind out a character and make them more powerful and come back to an old area, I don't want those old enemies to level up with me. I still want to be able to go back to an older, earlier stage and then kick their ass. I mean, look at the fun that we had in WoW recently with the latest expansion.
I would have rather had all the dungeons tuned to my level as a soloist than just go through and shoulder tackle the Lich King once and then his arm falls off.
I agree wholeheartedly with you, but how much fun was it to be able to go back and just bitch slap?
Not a lot. Not a lot.
I had a lot of fun going back and bitch slapping the old instances.
I had fun seeing things I should have been able to see when they came out.
Agreed.
So I'm a giant cynic when it comes to that. I apologize,
Fair
but
enough.
I am. Any other notes on... Okay, next. Voicemail.
So, it's me again. So recently on Facebook and Twitter and everything, you've been talking a lot about Madoka, which I like because I think Madoka's a really interesting, if slightly flawed, or as you might consider it, deeply flawed show. But I was wondering, you focused a lot in those talks about Madoka not being the protagonist and that the series should have focused on Homura, who seems to be the actual protagonist. I really like the idea of media following a supporting character or non-traditional protagonist as such. Even if Madoka didn't pull it off, are there other pieces of media that you enjoyed that did pull off, following a supporting character instead of following the obvious protagonist? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. And immediately after hearing this question, what are 3 pieces of media you want to recommend me, even if they seem off-topic? Okay then, that's all for this one.
Alright, hang on, before we get to it, he asked us to answer a question immediately after listening to it. 3 pieces of media. USB removable media, removable USB 3.0 drives, and CD-ROM.
No, that's not what he asked.
Why is everyone in Madoka so baby-faced? They
Yeah.
have some fat cheeks.
Okay, so here's the thing about Madoka Magica. They picked the wrong protagonists because they're fucking amateur hour storytellers and don't know how to write a story. So here's the thing. There's lots of stuff where the character who you thought was going to be the protagonist is not, and where the choice of protagonist makes sense. The Great Gatsby is one, because arguably the protagonist is the fucking Gatsby, but the story is told from the perspective of his friend.
I'm pretty sure he meant anime.
No, he said any
He
story.
said anything. He said anything.
He said any...
Why you gotta be such a smug asshole about this all the time, Dave? Dave, do you need
Great
a belt?
Gatsby, really?
Yeah,
Well, the
no.
Great Gatsby was told from the perspective of Gatsby's friend, but Gatsby was arguably the protagonist.
Did you at least choose something good?
Oh, no, Great Gatsby's overrated. I'm not arguing that. I'm just talking about...
Let's at least try and go with the good spectrum of...
Okay, sorry.
Isn't in theory like Mushishi, where it's like it's always focused on this one guy, but it's the stories about all the other people per episode?
Not really.
No, it kind of is. It kind of is. The main character, he's the narrator, he's the problem solver, but the story's never about him. The story's always about who he's helping. They're really the protagonist of the tale, but we follow him. He's not really the protagonist, even though he's kind of our vehicle for these stories,
See,
right? He's the common thread.
You and I talked about one show that was like this, Scrap Princess.
I was about to mention Scrap Princess. Did you guys see Scrap Princess?
No.
Okay. After Bones made the incredibly awesome and way better than Brotherhood 2003 Full Metal Alchemist series, sometime afterwards they made a series called Scrap Princess. Long story short, it is about a girl named Pacifica who was supposed to be killed or the kingdoms of Earth would fall into ruin. And she was thrown off a cliff and she was rescued by a brother and sister. The brother's name is Shannon. I forget the sister's name. Shannon was voiced by Crispin Freeman and sounds exactly like Zelgadis. Shannon is the guy who fights the fights. Shannon is the guy who wins most of the fights. Almost every single enemy is killed by Shannon. But Pacifica is the protagonist. The story is told from her perspective. The story happens to her, and she elicits change in the characters around her. One might argue, well, why isn't Shannon the protagonist? And that's very easy, because the story would have been boring. Because Shannon was doing one thing. And of course, protecting his adopted sister Pacifica and his actual sister, who also had the same goal as he did, those were important to him, but that was it. That was his whole character. Pacifica is the one whose destiny is tied into the very world, whose actions will determine the fate of everyone, even if she doesn't do one lick of fucking real fighting. So it works for Pacifica to be the protagonist of Scrap Princess. It does not work for Madoka, because Madoka is boring and bland and shitty. While Homura, her whole story is what wins everything. If Homura's story, if she meets her goal, the anime's over because she won. And it's the cornerstone of everything. That's why she should have been the protagonist here.
Just to add to it, I remember when I watched the first episode of when you guys did Madoka or whatever, and before you even mentioned that was the first thing I thought of. I said to myself, why isn't this chick the main character? She's a lot more interesting and everything. And what I was just gonna quickly say was, it kind of reminded me of like future Trunks. I know we were talking about Trunks a little bit earlier today, but that's kind of what it reminded me of. Imagine a show about him. That would be so much more interesting than...
Arguably, Goku shouldn't be the protagonist of Dragon Ball after the Cell Saga, but people have a hard-on for Goku, so...
I wish I were here.
You'll eventually hear my thoughts on this, Rowan, when we get to the end of...
I should really put those out, eh?
Madoka.
I wanted to see the bit where you laughed your head off after she got her decapitated.
That's the next one. Go ahead.
Yeah, you'll hear all about it. I actually argue about why it was needed to have the focus on Madoka, but you'll hear all that there. I'm not going to go into it here. As far as the three media, though, definitely Scrap Princess if you haven't seen that already. Yuki Yuna is a hero, if you haven't caught that one from more recent times.
It's super good.
And something more recent for me, at least, Dance in the Vampire Blund.
And by that, Dave means Yurikuma Arashi. What is Dance with the Vampire Blund? Blunt. Blend.
Or Bond.
It's
Fun.
12-episode anime on vampires and some cool politics going on within it.
Do you guys recommend anything to Rowan that's not an anime?
No.
Yeah, you ever see the American Justice League cartoon? It's got some filler episodes, but it is generally good television, especially the Cadmus episode.
60-40.
Quite
I'm gonna
good.
punch you in the kidneys. Is what I'm
Reboot.
gonna do. Reboot, which we're gonna talk about later, but Reboot has aged well, despite some of its CG not having aged well. I'm still trying to rack my head about other stories where the protagonist was someone who wasn't really the character that did all the shit. Does To Kill a Mockingbird count? Is Atticus the protagonist of that, or is Scout
Why
the
are you
protagonist?
picking
that's a
such
good, that's
lame
a good
Do not mock To Kill a Mockingbird!
You know
Oh,
what?
I'm mocking.
That
Mock,
was a good
mock,
book.
Mock.
You are impossible. You are the anti-literature demon witch thing.
Bravo.
I don't even know.
Bravo.
So, a show of hands, who here thinks that To Kill a Mockingbird is a literary classic that everybody should read?
I need to reread it because I remember liking it when I was in school, but I don't remember too much about it. But
And
I remember having dreams that I was Scout, so that must be good.
And there's a sequel coming out.
There's a sequel coming out to Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird 2. Kill Mockingly. That's not the title. That's not the title, but Dave apparently just shits all over literary classics. I appreciate that because I shit all over Madoka Magica, which is super popular. And I don't even shit all over it. I don't hate it, but whatever. But you know what? This whole conversation has left me very bitter at you, Dave. I don't like your face. I don't like your smug attitude. Did I offer you a drink yet? Right. Okay.
Next voicemail.
Why don't you just, run out into traffic, Carlos?
Will you relax?
Carlos and Dave, I'm harassing you vocally once more. Why haven't you watched more Utena? I really think you need to finish watching that because it's amazing and awful, but more amazing. But still quite awful. Anyway, this question's more aimed at writers that you guys aren't the biggest fans of. Somehow, you are being given the opportunity to alter the existence of works by 3 different media creators. David Cage, Masato Kato, the writer of Chrono Cross, and Naotaka Hayashi, the writer of Steins Gate. The rules are simple. You can remove the entire collection of work from one single one of those artists, but by doing so, you double the output of the other 2. Those other 2 keep along the same lines of quality of the things they've already produced. Okay then, I think that's all I've got. I hope that covers my lack of voicemails last time. So yes, love the show, keep doing it. I look forward to it every fortnight. Bye!
If you love the show, why are you trying to hurt us, Rowan? Why are you trying to hurt us?
That was an amazing.
How do you choose?
So listen,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, how about this? Why don't we make not a flow chart. Why don't we make a pros and cons
Okay,
chart?
okay. David Cage. Pros. Cons. Doesn't know what he's doing. Thinks games are movies.
Thinks that
Ellen Page.
thing
A
is
creep
creepy.
job for Ellen Page. Fucking make some of the worst games ever made.
You could actually logically argue that they aren't games.
No, they are games. And here's the thing. If people like David Cage games, it makes them happy. We have no right to judge them. But we're totally judging them. Because what the fuck?
Here's the thing.
Have you played Heavy Rain or anything?
I have watched it being played and wondered why I didn't stab out my own eyes.
I've played Heavy Rain, and by that I mean I played the first 2 hours of Xenosaga.
That's Masato
What?
Kato.
I got the same amount out of Xenosaga for actual gameplay.
Xenosaga's not Masato Kato. Xenogears is Masato Kato.
I know.
Are you
but
serious?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm saying this because they're both,
David,
at that point, they're both cinematic experiences.
David.
Hour of video,
Oh.
2 seconds on the controller, another hour on the...
Hang on, to be fair, we have someone here who has suffered through an entire David Cage game. Kiki, please describe the Heavy Rain experience for us.
So the first time I played through, in all honesty, it wasn't awful. Like, I got sucked into it once I was trying to figure out the story and stuff. I will be honest, I did.
Okay.
And then I was trying to get the best ending, however, I let everybody die, except my main guy.
Sounds like a good ending to me.
No, I literally let everyone die, and I felt awful, because I was like, oh, there's a fire building. I was like, oh, maybe if I put her in the fridge, she'll be okay, and the thing fucking, like, burnt down and exploded or something. Like, oh, well, there she goes.
Harrison Ford survived the nuclear bomb in the
That's
fridge.
why
So
I put the fridge thing. Honestly,
no wonder.
that was my. See, you would have chosen that too. So anyway, and then I blamed this one guy. I was like, no, he's the killer, and it was just some random crazy guy. And then made the police officer look like an asshole. So I got him fucking arrested and killed. And
that is an escalation of event. Arrested and then murdered.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was just arrested, but I'm just gonna say he got murdered too. I don't know. And the one guy I did want, which was the actual killer, I let him go, and I got killed instead because I went out blazing, guns a-blazing, because I was just like, motherfucker. And
I've just never been interested in any of his work.
Just a battle cry of Princess to Jason!
I mean, isn't his gameplay basically QuickTime events?
See, yes. And...
Ooh! APs.
That's
Well, but-
isn't Miku basically QuickTime events?
That's what I was gonna say.
But better.
Damn it, why you stealing
Those
my
are rhythm
answers?
games.
Yeah,
Well,
QuickTime events.
Rhythm game is a QuickTime, if you want to be technical.
Technical.
But now, hey, the whole point I'm trying to bring up is, after playing that game, I looked back on it and I was just like, no, the story makes no sense. Nothing gets answered, and there's huge plot holes, and I don't even want to go into it because the plot holes that are in there are better than what the original idea was, and
Okay.
now, is that worse? Here's the thing that's really difficult about Rowan's question here. Could I live with more of that? Or
Okay.
could I live with more of things like Steins Gate? I never watched the episode myself. I just watched what you guys did. And I looked at Carlos and I said, are you for real? Is this actually happening? And then I looked back at that computer screen and I said, no. This isn't, no.
There's a reason why Carlos screams no when I threaten more Steins Gate.
Oh, I believe it now. When Carlos he didn't tell me anything about Steins Gate. He just said, you know what, you need to watch this. So I was like, oh, okay, so it can't be that bad. Because he told me I need to watch Trigun, and that was good. So I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself, is this what I'm actually watching?
This is what passes for entertainment these days.
Like,
what
is this
else
a
has the
thing?
guy behind Steins Gate done?
Steins Gate is actually the second in a trio series. There is a first series, then Steins Gate, and then there's a sequel series.
Okay, do you know their names?
No, but they all have semicolons in the middle of their names.
That doesn't help me, Paul.
That doesn't have to. It's
Okay, hang
Steins
on.
Gate.
Now,
Go on. I know where you're getting at, but say it, because it's
So-
hilarious.
and now that you mentioned Masato Kato did Xenogears, I tried so hard to play Xenogears when I was younger. I tried so hard. I remember exactly where I stopped. Chapter 3, a girl named Ellie. That was in the forest. And I just literally went like this. I put the controller down, and I said, that's enough.
As far as Xenogears, though, goes, I pride myself on having played and finished pretty much the entire PS1 and close to the entire PS2 collection of RPGs.
You know what made me happy?
I got through the first 20 minutes of Xenogears before I put it down, and sold it.
Okay, Nilza's going to say her point, and then we're going to move on to pros and cons of Masato Kato,
Okay.
and then I'm going to talk about Xenogears, because I suffered through that whole thing.
You know what? I was going to mention what made me happy about Xenogears? When Kuros decided, I want a power level, let's use the Game Genie or whatever you had at the time. And it slowed the game down so much that you know how the window flips whenever it's a new menu or whatever?
Yeah, whenever you go to the shop, the window kind of flips into view.
It went like this for like 5 minutes, and then it would finally start moving again, and there was no way to stop this.
Because the game thought I had way too many characters. It's like, you have Seitan and Seitan with a sword.
And it kept doing this. I think we were stuck in that window for 20 minutes.
It was horrible. It was the worst.
That was the best part.
I mean, the game. It's just all bad memories bleeding together. So let's talk pros and cons for Masato Kato, okay? Pros.
No. Okay, there is a pro.
Damn it.
There is a pro.
He did
Without
Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
And did he have any part of Chrono?
Without him,
Masato Kato contributed the Zeal era of Chrono Trigger.
Yes.
Therefore, the worst era of Chrono
worst
Trigger.
Era, absolutely.
And he designed the entire overarching story that based on what the other eras were designed as by different, better designers.
How about Chrono Cross?
He did all of Chrono Cross.
Okay, I've got a winner there.
Hang on, okay. Please continue, Kiki.
I was going to say, now, without his influence, will that mean Chrono Trigger is non-existent or just Zeal?
Hopefully, somebody better will make Zeal better. I have an idea of how I would have redone Chrono Trigger, including Zeal. So let's give him a pro. Masato Kato's imagination gave birth to some interesting ideas.
Yes, that's what I was coming at.
And cons. The worst part of Chrono Trigger. All of Chrono Cross. Xenogears. Sands of Destruction. He writes operas in Japan. I'm sure they're terrible. Masato Kato is a talentless hack who doesn't know how to write for shit. And he writes pointless shit like, the Prophet of Time went into the good future, but then decided that he needed to save Shala, who was merging with Lavos. Somehow, the Prophet of Time discovered this somehow, so he made a city in 2400 AD that would go back in time and form the El Nido Archipelago. The Earth then would bring Dinopolis from an alternate Earth into that to fight, and then it would turn into a forest, and then this is the dumbest fucking plot. It's not even complex, it just takes long to describe. Chrono Cross is like if I grabbed a copy of Chrono Trigger, squatted down, and shit all over it, literally. Except I think that's better because I don't have to play Chrono Cross after I do that.
And you lost a couple pounds.
Yeah.
While I was playing Kingdom Hearts 2 yesterday, my roommate came down, was watching me play, and he was looking up lists of, like, the hardest video game bosses. Sort of stuff. Just pointless fluff, really. And the list he was looking at actually had Indolatio as number 1.
Indolatio, real asshole. Fuck you, Star Ocean 2.
Limiter off Indolatio, obviously. But it also had Lavos on there. I'm like, Lavos? Which game? He's like, oh, Lavos from Chrono Cross. I'm like, did they mention whether you're going for the good ending? Yeah, it says good ending here. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that's definitely it. Because not only did you have to fight the fucker and get his hit points down, you didn't.
That would have fucked you. You're supposed to not even damage him.
You have to get him a certain percentage down.
Nope. You can do it right at the beginning of the fight.
But you have to get that frickin' string of colors all in the right...
I remember the colors.
Yeah, here's the easy way to do it. You do the first 2 correctly, and then you wait to see what he does. If he does the 3rd, you should have enough time to do the rest of the string. Game over.
Yeah.
You don't have to do 1 hit point of fucking damage.
Are you serious?
Never had that much luck.
Wow.
Chrono Cross is so terrible. You can accidentally hit run away in any fight. Bosses reset. Let's talk a bit about the worst experience of my life, Xenogears. So I played Xenogears all the way through. Fei Fong Wong, the main character of Xenogears, has 7 different personalities. None of them know how to shut the fuck up. There is no text speed option in Xenogears.
Mm-hmm.
Seitan Uzuki is the next mouthy motherfucker, and I would hate his guts if he wasn't so god horribly broken that he was like one of the most broken characters in RPG. He fights barehanded. His attack is at least 50% greater than the highest weapon-using character in the party. In the second half of the game, he gets a katana, which adds to his attack. And now his attack is like 4 or 5 times greater. He does Ultima slashes just for kicks, okay? But he still blows because he's still a mouthy motherfucker. Ellie's spells have a chance to fail and do nothing. There's a character later who has spells that have no chance to fail. Did I mention nobody shuts the fuck up in this fucking game? There's a church in the game that is trying to spread the evil theory of evolution when the actual truth is that an alien god came to the planet and, like, spermed everyone into existence.
Ew.
This takes place over 70 mind-numbing hours across 2 discs. And the second disc, even though there's a world map with all the dungeons, the game has characters narrating on a chair like they thought they were in the last 2 episodes of Evangelion about everything, and then they just throw you into the dungeons, whether you're prepared to or not. Xenogears is garbage. Hot, very prettily animated, and with some amazing music. Garbage. I played through the entirety of Sands of Destruction. That's 18 hours I'll never get back.
I played through Sands of Destruction too. I called that was like a button mashing, like X, 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 Y, Y. There was no point in using the strong attacks when the weak attacks would just wheel the enemy down.
And that's another thing that pisses me off. Masato Kato games either have cool combat systems or imaginative but broken and stupid combat systems. Maybe focus on that and not on your shitty storytelling. I don't know. Okay.
So back on Xenogears, I did like how when you fought...
We are at an hour, and we've only been doing voicemails. Jesus H. fucking Christ.
When you fought Graf for the first time, it was like you guys were in your mechs, but Graf was just standing...
He was kicking the ankles of your mechs, and he was winning!
And then he gets his own mech, and you're like, fuck.
What the fuck do I do now? Okay,
Answer your that's the question now.
No, we need to do the pros and cons of the Steins Gate guy. Pros?
Oh, right.
Cons. He made Steins Gate!
Oh, did you know the pink-haired cat maid at that cat maid cafe? Supposedly, from what I read, she's a waitress there, she owns that cafe, and she owns all of Akihabara. No kidding. She owns that entire section of Japan.
Okay, so let's talk about which one of these is the worst. Which one you have to obliterate in order to double the output of the other two. This is a horrifying question.
I think I would obliterate...
Hold on, wait. Has Masato Kato made anything past Sands of Destruction? Like, what other games has he made after that? Like, as of lately?
I try to block out his existence from my memory.
I'm just curious,
In some of my
if he peaked in terms of video game writing at a certain age, at a certain year...
I do have a character in some of my video game design docs called Toto Masaka. And he's a traveling cat mage who looks like, or a traveling cat musician who looks like Lynx, and he keeps talking about shitty stories, and the main characters make fun of him all the time. The problem with obliterating any of these two is you are introducing a far greater evil to the world.
Yeah, anyone is introducing two evils.
Yeah, you're introducing 2 more evils. So which of these 2 combined evils is worse?
I think you would have to keep David Cage.
Yeah, you can't pick David Cage in this choice. You can't eliminate him because as much of a creep job shithead as he is the lesser of 3 evils.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So the choice is between Masato Kato and the guy who writes Steins Gate, and it's obvious. You get rid of the guy who writes Steins Gate, and you put up with more Masato Kato RPGs that have no story, but people love them. No
David
good
Cage.
story and people love them. And David Cage and Heavy Rain 2, The Search for More Origami.
So basically we double crappy
Well,
crappy video games on the eastern and western sides to keep our enemies safe.
Yeah, well, anime's not safe. Anime's mostly garbage anyway, so I mean, you're just making it slightly less garbage. But I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
Now, I'm willing to do the exact same sacrifice because that's what I was leaning towards. And the reason for my choice is because, one, David Cage isn't as bad. It's fun to poke fun of him.
It's true, isn't it?
And, as well, like, you don't really hear much of him right now. So he's kind of faded. And, as of right now, anyway. As well, at least with Masato Kato, again, at least you can make fun of those games, like...
Yeah, but Steins Gate.
Steins Gate, sorry, that's gone.
Yeah, this is a near unanimous decision, I think. Is it unanimous?
Poe,
Yeah.
what's your decision?
Poe, are you feeling okay? You look like you're dying.
No, I'm
Okay.
alright.
Okay, so, slight aside here, we've been talking for over an hour on voicemails. We have a choice here. We can continue with the rest of the podcast, and this is going to turn into like a 2-hour extravaganza. It's already 8 p.m. Or we can resume another time. So, folks, before we realize we've been talking for an hour on voicemails, so this is part 1 of this episode. We are going to make a part 2 next Saturday.
See what happens.
We will
part
resume.
2 can be called "Fuck Amiibos."
Oh Christ! Yeah, we probably should, because Dave's gonna talk about amiibos a lot. So we didn't get to our topics, but we'll add to them and we'll do them next
We'll
time.
call this the mailbag special.
No, I already named this episode, and I named it based on us talking about Digimon. The name did not pan out.
Not once did we mention it earlier.
Fuck. Okay.
And I have a lot to say on that too.
Then let's make a new title for this episode with voicemail. Fuck, like
Why don't we call
voicemails.
it
Mail. Okay, something like that.
No, it's just ridiculous.
This is what kind of fucking podcast is this? What are we doing with our lives?
Having fun.
I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I never got to the question that my friend asked.
Oh yeah, we're doing mailbag, so let's get that question out. Go ahead.
Basically, a friend of the show.
Okay, a friend of Poe's who listens to the show has a question. What is the question?
You basically, after I told her, like, about, like, your stances, your political stances, she's like, for a guy who's always, like, so pervy, and, like, all liking all lesbians and stuff, how are you a feminist?
Yeah, let me answer that.
That's ridiculous.
Okay,
That's a stupid question.
No. Let's be honest with ourselves. I say pervy shit, and I use ableist language that I shouldn't. I say retarded way too many times. I use rape as a punchline, which I shouldn't do.
That's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous, Carlos.
I know, but here's the thing. I'm a feminist because I believe in equal rights for everyone, and I believe that women are shat on everywhere on this planet, and it is my job to not ignore that. That is why I'm a feminist. I'm an intersectional feminist because intersectional feminism means recognizing where oppression exists anywhere. Black men in the States, black women in the States, Christians in certain countries where they're persecuted, Muslims in a lot of countries where they're persecuted, atheists where they're persecuted, not bitter new atheists who hate everyone that aren't atheists, that kind of thing. How can I be all pervy and like lesbian hentai and shit? Because I'm a human being and I'm allowed to fantasize, and there's a certain thing called sex-positive feminism where you're a feminist and you recognize that humans are sexual creatures and they should be allowed and not vilified to be sexual creatures. We shouldn't be vilifying women who want to strip. We shouldn't be vilifying men who want to strip. We shouldn't be vilifying sex work. That kind of thing. It's not pervy. It's not pervy to want to see sex. It's not pervy to jerk off to it even. And my obsession with Yuri and lesbians is partly because of porn, and partly because I just like seeing positive female relationships in fiction. Half the time when I read a Yuri manga about a Yuri doujin about a couple I like, it's not for any kind of pornographic reason, even if there's erotic content in it. I'm reading it because I want to indulge in these two characters having a relationship that is positive and not vilified.
I was actually going to mention as well. You also you tend to do that for shits and giggles as well.
I never play up my character on this show.
Uh-huh.
I was going to also point out. Okay, I was also going to point out. I don't think someone's sexual preferences should affect who they are.
I hover somewhere in between heterosexuality and bisexuality, and I prefer lesbian couples in fiction. This is my preference. These are subjective things. They are things I'm born with, they are things I like, and they are things that are doing no harm to anyone. There are totally heterosexual people who want to see heterosexual couples in fiction and write heterosexual people. They are not inherently wrong for doing so, though I kind of wish they would branch out and realize that's most fiction and try something else, right? But, well, thank you for supporting me, guys. Jesus Christ. I feel all loved because this question wasn't an attack, but you guys looked at it like that.
Burn him, burn him.
No, but honestly, how am I a feminist? Because I am. It's really that simple. I can be a feminist, and I can totally look at I'm gonna throw out an example of someone who was a feminist before I identified as one, and is a really, really hardline one. Kyan, maker of I Want to Be the Guy, total feminist. He has a not safe for work Tumblr that I get a lot of artwork from. Let's just leave it at that.
You naughty.
Well, that's sex positive. You're allowed to like
You're
naughty
naughty
things. Jesus Christ. Okay, so this was. I'm gonna punch you. I'm gonna roundhouse kick the earth so hard. We gotta do some Digimon talk, man.
We're out.
No. Why did Phantomon suck so much?
Oh my god,
Because
that's its own rant.
Angemon threw a hand of fate at Myotismon. It not only made Myotismon keel over that nobody was able to do, not even their shitty ultimates, but Phantomon died just being near the point of impact. The beam, I looked, the beam didn't even touch Phantomon.
Yeah,
he got obliterated by the sheer proximity to it.
I remember that because I asked, I was like, whatever happened to Phantomon? I don't remember anyone killing him. Until that episode came back, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, he died because his bitch ass got too close to one attack that wasn't even meant for him.
Yeah, it was
Angemon killed Phantomon by accident.
That's pretty embarrassing.
Some of Myotismon's troops were pretty shitty. Tai beat up one of the champion ghosts. Tai.
Yeah, it was
not Agumon.
No,
Tai. He tackled him in the back and punched the shit out of him, man. Tai was like 10.
Well, back then, Bakumon, the champion level ghosts, were basically like the jobbers of the champion level Digimon.
They're still champion level Digimon.
Yeah.
That still doesn't make them any less jobber.
They were beaten by a child. A literal child. Tai has no powers. All of Tai's powers involve making Agumon better. Tai doesn't have super strength.
No, he doesn't.
Tai does not have super strength. Tai has no transformation morpher. Tai went behind the ghost, tackled it, and said, "Fuck you, ghost," and beat it up.
Somebody was watching that when they came up with that Digimon Frontier.
Series 5, where the guy had an Agumon as a companion, but in order to power up his Agumon,
he had to punch the enemy.
Yeah, he made his Agumon power up by running up to like giant Digimon and punching them in the face, because this guy was insane.
What? Are you serious?
Yep.
Oh yeah, this guy awesome.
His Agumon respects him because he challenged Agumon to a fight, and he didn't die, or some shit like that.
I would just go up to Agumon and hug him because he's so...
He'd be like, I love you. Jesus Christ. Okay, we got our Digimon. This podcast is the biggest joke. The biggest joke. The farce. It's a farce. It's a farce. What are we doing? What are we doing?
So, how many people listen to this?
Like, how many subscribers do we have?
More than you'd think.
There are.
Okay, that's not.
There are actually. I looked. There is more than one person listening to us in Japan.
What?
So Rowan is one. Who else? What are they doing? They're like they're sitting there being like, these fellows do love Yuki Yuna. They are certainly very good to listen. You guys got to see that show so we can talk about it.
What if it's Masato Kato he's listening to?
Oh, that's fine. Can't make him any better or worse.
No, but he listens to you because he's just like he's listening.
Maybe he's stalking me.
He's staring in the mirror and he does a single tear. The
single tear is like, why doesn't Carlos love me? Honestly, if I had to talk to Masato Kato face to face, I would be very polite about it. It's like when Adan was very mad at me about fucking Spirited Away, and then he and I actually had a Skype conversation about it, and I was super polite about it. I'm like, look, man, in all talk, I play a fucking asshole character on this stupid podcast. Yes. I understand that people like what they like.
Character.
But I still do not back off that stupid River Spirit. Fuck that stupid River Spirit's face. Fuck his entire character motivation. Fuck that whole movie.
I've never watched Spirited Away.
You're going to the next time we're going to
force Carlos to watch the next time we're over at
I know. In this cruel and unusual punishment.
We're
All right, looks like we're out.
What do you want to go?
No,
You're not enjoying.
You guys don't want to make this a 3-hour special.
You know what?
I'm actually gonna shove all this shit to the beginning of the podcast.
You know what? Okay, that's gonna sound weird because they're gonna listen to this. And I'm gonna shove this in the beginning of the podcast. It's gonna sound.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. It'll be great. People will wonder what's going on.
All I've gotta say for Digimon is that since you wanted to throw a little bit more of Digimon,
You know what? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the parting thoughts stuff and I'm gonna put that behind this section, and I'm gonna add that there's a Digimon part here.
And are we gonna talk about Digimon again? Because I'd like to go further into it.
You know what? I'll throw it on the episode 66 itinerary, and maybe we'll have more general topics and maybe less voicemails.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So, folks, thank you so much for listening to what ended up being the mailbag episode. We're gonna have to get together with friends and talk about some of these other topics and just talk in general because it's fucking fun to do. Dave, where's our website? Hang on, because you don't know for some reason. Here it is.
It's handsandfatman.com.
Well, that's my site, and it's not quite done. But okay, Dave, tell the fine people our website.
tfatguystalk.com.
Good work, good work. What if they want to see our anime raves?
You say it.
Carlos and Dave, animerave.com.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'm at the Dude Haddock.
The Dude Haddock? The Dude Haddock?
No.
Fish substitute.
You are at the Dude Hack on Twitter.
Yeah.
Where am I?
Handsome Fat Man.
That's right, on Twitter. Do you guys have Twitter accounts or any plugs you want to throw out there?
No.
Nope.
Okay, then. You can all see us on iTunes. Go to Two Fat Guys Talk. You search for us. We slot right into your podcast aggregator on iTunes. You can listen to us there. Don't tell Apple the kind of shit we talk about. I don't think they'd approve.